Yes, guys. Hello and welcome back to the Spurs-related YouTube channel and podcast. I hope everyone's doing very, very well. First of all, let's address the elephant in the room. It has been a while. I'm very, very sorry. We have been busy, all three of us, and yeah, there's a lot going on. But we're back, of course, for the big one: Tottenham versus Arsenal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Sunday, 2 p.m. Is there more to play for Arsenal than us? Arguably, yes. Obviously, they're going for the title. We're going for top four, which looks a stretch. But I'm joined alongside my co-host Jack, all the way from Jacko Land. Jack, you loved that one. But Jack, very quickly, as I know it's a short video today, how are you doing?
Doing well. Look, James, it'd be rude not to come back on for the North London derby. What a game. Lots to play for us and Arsenal. Let's be honest. If we can stop their title charge, then I'll tell you what, that'd be pretty special. And I've got a good feeling that we can do something, James.
Yeah, absolutely. Good feelings all round. Guys, let us know in the comments below if you think that Spurs can beat Arsenal and upset their title hopes. But also, please do me a massive favour. It's the first one back for a while. I'm not expecting the views to be massive, but if you could all smash a like and subscribe to Spurs Related for more content, that would be most appreciated. But Jack, we're going straight into three, four, five different little questions we've got, talking points related to this game, because we could just sit here and say, oh, yeah, Tottenham are going to beat Arsenal, but we're realistic, aren't we, Jack? So, does form go out the window in the North London derby, Jack?
Of course it does. Look, in my opinion, I think if anyone's followed Spurs and Arsenal's matches in previous years, it's never normally the team that comes into the game on top form. Obviously, when Spurs had that period of time when we were stronger than Arsenal, we were kind of going for the title. We were always in second and third place, and Arsenal was struggling to make top four. But we always knew as soon as we'd go to the Emirates, as soon as we'd have something to play for, they'd be looking to stop us in our tracks. And I feel like we've got to go out there and try and do something similar this Sunday. I think we're not coming into the best of form. Obviously, we got thrashed 4-0 against Newcastle, and Arsenal are on fire. I think yeah, I think they've won 14 of their past 16 games. The stat I saw, James, they're just on an amazing run of form. Defensively, so solid, and the likes of Trossard as well have been brilliant recently. But they have been knocked out of the Champions League, so the wind has been taken out their sails slightly, even if they did beat Chelsea 5-0. But this game, James, with the atmosphere, with Spurs knowing what they've got to do, you'd hope that we can do a number on them.
Yeah, well put. And I mean, Jack, for me, the thing I'm thinking about, the game I'm thinking about, is pretty much 2 years ago to the day when Arsenal came to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium after that rescheduled fixture in COVID, if you remember. And it was Antonio Conte's side against Mikel Arteta's Arsenal side. Both of us were going for top four, and they came to the stadium and we turned them over 3-0. Rob Holding got a red card, didn't he?
Yeah.
Just before half time. We were already 2-0 up. We came out in the second half. We score another. It was comfortable. It was the best atmosphere I've personally been to at that new stadium. I don't know about yourself, Jack, but it was buzzing there. Any time I think of Tottenham Arsenal at the new stadium, that's the game I think of. And that's the game I'm hoping we're going to get on Sunday. But obviously, a lot has changed since then. We play very different type of football. Antonio Conte's sort of defensive-minded style. And now we've got Ange Postecoglou's attacking style, pressing style, against Arteta's developed Arsenal team after 24 months more development with more key players like a Declan Rice, like a William Saliba. They didn't have these type of players when we played them 2 years ago. So it is a very different task, but you've got to also remember that the atmosphere builds up. Things go through players that have already been there's head, and we could be causing them problems. I'm thinking the likes of Bukayo Saka that played in that last game, Jack, right?
Martinelli.
He does, yeah, exactly. He does go missing in certain games. I'm not disputing Bukayo Saka is a fantastic player, but we know that he can go missing from the bigger games. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. I think Bukayo Saka's been fantastic for Arsenal this season, like he has been for many years. But for him to kind of be that world class player that Arsenal fans and I think a lot of people in the English media want him to be and are putting that big 100, 150 million pound price tag on him to kind of prove your worth, these are the games where you've got to step up. This is one of the biggest games for Arsenal and Tottenham, really. in recent years, they have got a real chance of winning the title this season. And being knocked out the Champions League, this is all they've got to play for this year. So Saka definitely has to step up. I think Arsenal fans have to come into this game being confident. They've got one of the best sides they've had in recent years. They've got firepower, but I think they've probably got the best defence I've seen in the past decade, James. I think Gabriel and Saliba at the back have been absolutely phenomenal. You've got a brilliant right back in Ben White, who's good defensively, also good going forward. And obviously, they kind of rotate their left back, being unlucky at the start of the season, having their new signing, Jure Timber, being injured. But I think Kiel War's done a good job for them. But that's where I'm worried. I think, are Arsenal actually going to sit back and kind of hit us on the counter attack because of how good they are defensively? Are Spurs going to go full pelt at them and play the football that we know we can? It's going to be a really interesting battle, and I'm really interested to see really who comes out on top. Will it be Ange with free flowing attacking football, really going full throttle at them, or will Arteta kind of match that, or do you reckon he will sit in, play counter attacking, and use the quality of Saka and Martinelli on the wings? I think it's a real tactical battle, and I just hope Ange is going to come out on top on this one.
See, I don't think we're going to be playing free-flowing attacking football. And the reason why I think that is in the last few weeks, obviously, when we haven't been posting on the channel, but I believe we have been very, very subpar compared to what we have been between, say, the beginning of the season and maybe up to, unfortunately, that Chelsea game where things seem to have gone, completely wrong. But I think, Jack, we're going to, in my opinion, I expect Arsenal to dominate possession. I expect Arsenal to have at least 65% of the ball. I know normally we're used to having, a good chunk of the ball, but I just see them sort of dominating us. We were almost going to appear as the away side, I think, especially for the first half. I think also the other thing is first half, we seem to just start well 10 minutes in and then go to absolute pot until half time. And then we come out second half after Andrew's kicked them up the backside and essentially, told them what is going on and had a harsh word. And then suddenly we come out well in the second half sometimes. But Jack, less than 7 days ago, we played Newcastle in probably one of the worst performances I've seen us all season.
Sure.
And I don't think we had much of the ball in that game at all.
I think it's interesting that you say that, James, because I think there's possession stats were similar, but I think we still top them on the possession stats. And Mourinho obviously said that great stat where you can have the ball, you can take it home with you, but if you're going to do nothing with it, what's the point? And that is my slight worry recently with Postecoglou's football, is that we love to keep the ball, we love possession, but if we're not kind of cutting through the defence, then what are we doing with it? And I think I'm worried, like you say, James, that we are going to go and try and keep the ball, pass it around for ages, and Arsenal are going to hit us on the counter attack. So if you believe that actually Arsenal are going to be the dominating possession team, and we're going to look to sit in and use the pace of Son, use the pace of Brennan Johnson, I think that might suit us more. So if you see us playing more counter-attacking style of football, let me know in the comments, guys, because this is kind of against Ange's philosophy. I think that's a style that may work this weekend. And sometimes you need to respect the opponents you're playing and kind of tailor the football to the opposition.
Yeah, fair enough. And you're very right in saying that we did have more possession against Newcastle than them. However, like I'm saying, it didn't feel like that because what we do is our midfield didn't really distribute to the attackers, right? We'd get it on the wing, we'd sort of mess around with it, put in a terrible cross or, have 11 shots with only 2 on target. It's not good enough. So in terms of our final product, it's well off the mark, really, isn't it, Jack?
Exactly. We've been
But we're
very
going
as well, James, and just quickly going back to that point, I think at the start of the season, because of that unpredictability on what you're going to get with Tottenham, going from a counter-attacking team to someone who's going to always have the possession in the final third, teams have started to realise if they kind of use their defenders, who they believe in themselves, like Newcastle have a very solid defence, and use the pace up top, then they know we're going to invert our fullbacks, and there's so much space in behind. And look what happened to Mickey van der Ven when he was isolated. And we've just got to hope this weekend, maybe really, do we need to tailor our style to Arsenal's weaknesses?
Right, well, let's talk about Arsenal's biggest threats rather than weaknesses, because there isn't many Arsenal weaknesses, unfortunately, in this team. But, Jack, who are the 3 players we should be wary of? We don't need to go into too much detail as we're only doing a short video. But, I mean, for me, if he's on form, of course, Bukayo Saka. But I don't think he's quite been the player he perhaps has near the start of the season and maybe even last season. I'd also say, obviously, when you say threats, you're looking at attacking positions normally, but I think we're going to have a hard time, like you said, about against Saliba and Gabriel, Jack, because they're, I think, defensively the best team in the league, and the stats prove that. And I think you've also got to be, and I can't believe I'm sort of saying this, but I think you've also got to be wary of their right back, Ben White, coming off the back of a brace, Jack. I can't believe I'm saying it, but
Exactly.
it's in my head. Like, why has he scored a brace? What's happened there?
Havertz, exactly. Two players that you wouldn't exactly have for scoring reasons. One more because they're a right back, one more because they paid £65 million for a footballer that couldn't hit a barn door at Chelsea. But look, he started to play brilliant, very well for them. He's a goal threat, kind of plays in that centre forward role, and also sometimes drops more centrally. But it's crazy to say. For me, I think the three players I'm going to look out for is who they didn't have before in that crucial game under Antonio Conte when we picked them to top four. And that player is Declan Rice. I just think in that number 6 role, him and Rodri are the best in the league by an absolute mile. He's kind of took to that role like a duck to water. He's been phenomenal for them this year. Probably going to be one of the best players in the Premier League, I think it's fair to say. And I think Leonardo Trossard, James, I like
Nah,
him.
see, I was sorry. I knew you were going to say Trossard, and I just love the duck to water, Jack. You get in there every video, it's class. But I've got to say, Martin Odegaard is one that we need to mention because let's be honest, he is a phenomenal football player. I don't want to hype him up too much because I'm not going to be that guy, but I've got to be honest, I've got to say he's one of the best players for Arsenal. You know, his stats don't wow me. 8 goals, 8 assists in 31 games. But the way he dictates midfield, 25 years old, and he's their captain, incredibly, I think you've got to also say he's going to play a key part in how Arsenal attack.
And he's someone who stepped up last year. Obviously, he scored against us when they beat us 2-0 when they were fighting for the title on red hot form. And like you say, he's their creative spark. I think before at the start of the season when we drew 2-2, many people were doing their combined 11s and actually putting James Maddison ahead of Martin Odegaard, and at the time rightly so. But I think recently Odegaard has showed his quality, showed his creativity in big games, and obviously played a starring role when they beat Chelsea 5-0. But James, like you say, is he going to step up in this game? This is one of the most crunch games in years. Arsenal can win the title again, and to stop them, it's in Tottenham's hands. Man City are not going to drop many points. They've got to play us in their second final game. Arsenal have to come to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium when we're still going for top 4 and we have the opportunity to stop them. If 60,000 fans, obviously I know there's the Arsenal end as well, are rocking, doing everything in their power to disrupt this Arsenal team, then what are we doing? Why have we paid for this massive stadium? Because the importance of this game should not be underestimated.
No, agreed. Agreed. Clip that one out. What one question I wanted to ask is obviously you just covered it there, Jack. Do Spurs hold the key to the Premier League champions? I would quite like us to play our academy team against Man City, to be perfectly honest with you. Honestly, especially if we lose this game, Jack, because I could tell you now, a new element of Spurs would be to lose to Arsenal and then somehow beat Man City and hand Arsenal the league. You can see it sort of being a possibility because I think Andrew will want to push them for that top 4. He keeps mentioning, I want to win trophies, but he doesn't like the fact of the top 4. But he'll want Champions League football in his first season. But at the same time, I've also accepted that I think Europa League wouldn't be such a bad thing for Tottenham this season, especially when in the transition season, we were expecting us to finish 7th, 8th, 9th. Some people even predicted Tottenham to finish in the bottom half. I think it's still a good season if we finish 5th, to be honest with you, Jack. And I think we've got a much better chance of winning Europa League than Champions League. It may be a controversial opinion, but I'm just saying I wouldn't be gutted if we don't get top 4. Would you agree?
I definitely agree, and I totally see your point in that. But I do think Ange is the type of manager who's only going to focus on his team, his process, his outcome, because he's going to be thinking, well, I don't care what Arsenal are doing because I'm in charge of this football club, and this football club, my responsibility is to make sure they're doing the best they can. And
Yeah.
he probably has wanted to be in the Champions League all season. I know he's saying he don't care about top 4, but of course you do. You want to play in the biggest competition in world football, and that is the Champions League. And obviously, being a new format next year, there'll be many exciting games. But for me, you've got to take it by game for game process. If Tottenham beat Arsenal this weekend, James, you never know what's going to happen. They could lose 2 on the trot. So I think we've got to focus on what we're doing. Then, don't get me wrong, if we're close to Villa and we've got a good chance of getting top 4 and Man City beat us to win the league, let's be honest, no Spurs fans are going to be complaining, especially if Arsenal don't win it. But this game's coming up on Sunday. We've got to do everything in our power to stop them. We hold the keys, James. And I think there's been many times this season when we haven't turned up in the big games. But if Ange really wants to prove a point, a lot of people before the season were saying, you won't fall in Ange when he's beating the mid-table teams 4-5-0. You're going to fall in love with Ange when he does it in big games, against big players, against big teams. And it don't get much bigger than this. So I want to see what style of football he's going to do. Is he going to stick with his guns, and is he just going to go full throttle at them? Because course, it could work. We've seen it, James. We've seen us play fantastic football against Arsenal, Man City this year. We've got a pretty much full side, apart from Destiny Udogie being injured. It's going to be a really interesting tactical battle, and I would love to see us go out there and just beat them 3-0 like we did a couple of years ago. You're on mute, mate.
Sorry, it was one point I wanted to cover, Jack. It
Yeah.
was, is it Ben Davies or Emerson at left back? Because they're going to be essentially up against Bukayo Saka, right? So what a big miss that is. I mean, that's what worries me.
It's a huge miss, but all I know is Emerson played well in the last couple of North London derbies that he's had to come in, I think, for similar injury reasons. Obviously, it wasn't Udogie at the time. I think Sessegnon was injured. But if someone knows what it means to play for Tottenham Hotspur, and we've alluded to it already this season, James, it's Ben Davies. And he's turned up this season when he's needed most, whether that's at left centre-back or left-back. Yes, he's not the ideal choice, but for me, you can't look past him. You've got to hope Romero and Van de Ven are going to be able to cover him like they have before. So he's the person I think that deserves to play in this match.
I'm sorry, it worries me. I think you're right. Ben Davies, he's a fantastic servant for Tottenham over pretty much 10 years, right? But him against Bukayo Saka is asking for trouble. It's a new talking point, guys. Let us know in the comments below. But Jack, let's wrap things up. Final score predictions. We've talked about this for the last 15 minutes. We've been mentioning, our overall thoughts on maybe the tactical battles. But Jack, honest thoughts, not head and heart. I just want to know your honest thoughts. What do you think is going to happen at the weekend?
It's a huge game, James. It's a game both teams can't afford to lose. It's almost a game both teams can't afford to draw, especially in the position Aston Villa are in currently. And I think it's going to go 3-2 either way. I'd hate to call it, but at the end of the day, I've grown up a Spurs fan. I've seen us win some big games at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, so I'm hoping it's going to happen again. I'm going to go 3-2 to Tottenham, and I think we're going to score in a counter-attack in the last minute because Arsenal are going to go full throttle, and Brennan Johnson's going to run down that right-hand side, and Richarlison's going to get on the end of one. That's the fairy tale.
Oh my God. Can you imagine the jubilation at the stadium? It would be unbelievable. And funny enough, I've been saying all week to people that are asking me, I've been saying 3-2 either way, exactly the same as you, Jack. And I've been saying, not a last minute winner, but I've just been saying, I think it's going to be a goal fest. And I think we'll see early goals. I think even we could go 1-0 down in 10 minutes. I think maybe we could go 2-0 down in 30. And I think Arsenal will get shaky. We'll score one, put the pressure on him, score another, and I think maybe we could score a winner. I'm in dreamland. But to be honest with you, as I mentioned at the start of the video, I think the pressure is going to get to Arsenal. I don't think they're going to be able to handle it. Obviously, I could be very wrong. Arsenal will go into that game very much favourites, but history does seem to repeat itself in North London derbies. Yes, we lost last year, but actually, if you look back, normally the home team wins the North London derby. I'm sure there's a stat out there where it's about 80% of North London derbies are won by the home team. Think of all those years we won at the White Hart Lane against Arsenal, Jack. All I'm saying is, yes, it's very different circumstances. Arsenal are the closest they've been to a league since they bottled it last year. But it has to be said, Jack, they are going to be under so much pressure.
And James, these Tottenham players, they know how much it means to the fans. It hasn't quite gone our way this season. Obviously, we still had a good season compared to what we thought it was going to end up like. But if there's a way to put a smile on Tottenham fans' faces, then you know it would be to stop that Arsenal title charge and to do it at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium with 5 games to go. Postecoglou, win those fans back. Let him know you're the right man for the job, because I think me and you, James, definitely believe he is. Go and beat the Arsenal. Let them know that the trophy isn't coming to their side of North London. And the next time, hopefully, it'll be with us one day. We will see.
Love it. Guys, there it is. North London derby preview, but also focusing on everything. Key battles, key players, everything. Let us know if you enjoyed the video. Smash a thumbs up. Subscribe if you are new. It's great to be back. I have enjoyed this one, Jack. And guys, please, please, please comment below your thoughts on the game, and also comment Spurs related back in the comments if you get to the end of the video and you're still watching. There's where the real ones lie. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and remember, as always, come on, you Spurs.